Welcome to another episode of my Opinionated Ass podcast. This is a special episode today, so you already know who I am. It's West Meets World, and today we have special guest Kareem.
Yo, what's up?
He is a up-and-coming artist out of Akron, Ohio, and we wanted to go ahead and talk to him today. You know, find out what he's got going on, and of course, we're gonna definitely get his input on a couple other topics here. So here we go. A little bit different this time. Instead of smoking a strain, we are whiskey drinking today. Let's see how this one turns out.
Yeah, we're in my world now. I was a bartender for quite a while. I went to like bartending school, and I got a wine education too. So liquor is one of my fortes. You know, I actually was in this year. I think it was February. I was in a bartending competition for black bartenders up in Cleveland, and that was pretty dope.
How'd you do?
I don't know. They didn't really like give us places or whatever. We know who won. It was 6 of us.
Okay.
And there was one guy. I can't remember even what bar he was bartending out of, but I don't think his bar was open yet. I can't remember. But he made like a fruit bomb type drink. It had mass appeal, and he wound up winning. But all of the bartenders who participated were incredibly talented.
Okay.
But they didn't give us like second place, third place through 6th place. They just told us who the winner was, and I guess the rest of us was just runners up.
Okay, that makes sense.
But I'm drinking George Dickel chill filtered rye whiskey. Which is really good. Like, it's a good sipping rye. So that's really nice.
I am drinking Remy Martin right now. That's not really a whiskey, but I'm also what am I switching to? I am actually on the Crown Apple Vanilla, so that's my whiskey for today.
Nice.
Yeah, it's basic, but you know it does the job. Plus, it's a big ass bottle.
Yo, it's all about what you like, man. I'm not gonna knock anybody in their preference.
I feel you. All right.
Whiskey is whiskey.
So, a different topic, or different kind of thing we usually talk about. We're gonna talk about we're gonna give you a little, I guess, insight into us. I guess a little bit. So we're gonna talk about something like what I wanted to be, and you know what he wanted to be when he grew up as a kid. And, you know, compared to different routes that we are going on now. So, for example, when I was like a little kid, I wanted to be a lawyer for a period. Actually, kind of a small part of me, a long time ago, wanted to be a cop.
Really?
Yeah, I did. Like, I don't know, but I mean, I wanted to get into it, and I was like, oh, I want to, you know, arrest people.
Yeah, I couldn't see you running those down.
Like, I couldn't. Now, it's funny, too, because, like, that was the little kid. Like, I wanted to arrest bad guys and stuff like that. And you know what it is, though? I didn't want to be a cop, per se, but I knew you had to be a cop to be a detective. And I watched detective shows and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, I got to go through the ranks to be a cop first. Then I'll be a detective and have my trench coat.
I always wondered what the career trajectory was to wind up as a superhero. I was like, all right, so you got to go through police academy,
right?
And then like be a cop for a minute, and then you get promoted to like crime fighter.
Like, what paperwork do I got to sign to get my tights?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And do I get to choose my powers, or do you get sort of just assigned powers? Like,
yeah,
that's where my head was at as a kid when it came to like crime fighting.
What power did you want to have?
Oh, I don't even know, man. I just wanted to be strong. You know, I wanted to have super strength. My favorite superheroes were always Batman, Captain America, and Hulk when I was a kid. And their main powers were that they're really strong. Like Captain America is like
Batman
peak human.
Rich.
That's a different definition of superpower.
Yeah, right.
Batman is a superpower, not like
true.
But he was like peak physical condition too, along with Captain America, and then Hulk was a really strong dude. And like I just looked up to them for their strength, and so I wanted to be able to lift buildings and like all that kind of stuff. Never was into Superman, oddly though.
I wasn't either. Honestly, I didn't get into Superman until the movies came out. Or the newer movie. But like as far as mine, it was funny. Mine is similar. Mine was Batman, Hulk, and Spider-Man.
Yeah, okay.
Spider-Man was always mine, just because he was like a kid, like I was, and stuff like that. And he had drama, like stuff was not easy for him, and stuff like. So I was like, I can relate to him. So
I liked Spider-Man too, but I always noticed when he talked about Captain America, because it's almost like Spider-Man idolized Captain America, and I was like, why? So I started looking into Captain America, and then I started like really digging Captain America.
He's also someone I thought Captain America was kind of low key corny until the movies came out, and then I started looking into the more of the stories. But just his whole persona of Captain America, it just seemed kind of corny to me. But now I looked into some of the stories.
He's got a corny name.
He does have a corny name.
Like he's got one of the corniest names, but
and then the whole Boy Scout thing. But then I saw, he does kind of go hand in hand with some people. Okay, I rock with him a little bit now. That's what kind of happened to him.
Yeah.
So Chris Evans made me like the character of Captain America. Shout out to Chris Evans. But
shout out to Chris Evans. Come on the show.
Man, right? But I don't know. It's funny though, because I just think about like that was my trajectory, and then as a kid, and then as an adult, all of a sudden now like I'm doing this. I mean, I had that rap stage and stuff like that, and now I'm like, I'm doing this podcast, doing comedy and stuff like that, and it's like, had the little, jobs that we all had to go through. Like I had the little customer service jobs and stuff like that, and I'm so glad I can't do those anymore. But like I don't know. It's one of those things where you just know that the road to success is not a straight line.
No,
you heard that saying?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely not. They're like, the quickest way from point A to point B is a straight line. Like, ain't nobody doing it quick.
Nope, you're not doing it quick.
Not if you're coming from like a couple of generations of wealth already.
Yeah,
but even then, it's some time. Me, I've always, as long as I can remember, as far back as I can remember, I've wanted to be an artist. Mm-hmm. For me, though, my journey has been finding out or discovering or learning for myself that it's actually achievable, that a career as an artist, even a fine artist, is realistic, because I spent a lot of time just like talking myself out of being an artist. So like I spent a lot of time in the food and beverage industry. I worked retail for a minute, your jobs here and there. I got into hospitality management, which was fun, but it was never, I always knew it wasn't what I really wanted to do. And then I just started my art business almost exactly a year ago.
You worked for the Mouse for a little bit, right?
Say that?
You worked for the Mouse, right?
Yeah. I was in I was in Disney. He was a slave driver, but we tried to stay away from him for the most part. But no, he was. That was pretty cool. It was like 6 months. I was an internship at the Disney college program, and that was pretty cool. I didn't get to do a whole bunch of art, but I did get to understand the culture and the principles behind what Walt Disney created, which are very strong principles. And I wish that, there might be like a book that kind of goes through and just tells about like the Disney way and the way that he ran his business, the standards that he put
forward. Wasn't he like super anti-Semitic though?
Yo, I'm not saying that he was a good dude.
No, I'm just messing.
I'm messing with you. I'm saying like the standards for the standard of achievement that he set for himself and his company is something I think that everybody should strive for. Like he wasn't like, in order to be successful, you have to slaughter Jews. Like,
I mean, that shouldn't be funny, but it kind of was pathetic. But like,
Picasso was a communist, but he still made great art.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's just about
separating the art from the person.
Exactly.
I feel
exactly.
All right. So that's what's up though. So we're gonna go ahead and actually, I want to talk to you in regards to your art. Matter of fact, so we're gonna go ahead and get into that. So honestly, I'm gonna go ahead and give the floor to Kareem here because I want him to be able to really tell you guys about his art, where you can find it and all that stuff. So Kareem, you got the floor.
Well, thanks. I'm just going to start with where you can find it. I do have a website. It's called www.theindigokid.com. it's basically my portfolio website, but I also post blogs and stuff there. I just started my blog a couple of weeks ago, and it's really where I try to explore the art world in somewhat of a more layman's way, because a lot of people feel like outsiders to the art world, and a lot of people feel like it's pretty inaccessible, and even I felt like that for a long time. Like, how do I break into this? How do I even get to know this? Like, is it snooty? Is it exclusive? Like, what is there even to know about this? But really, it's a culture just like any other. It's like, there's weed culture. It's like there's hip hop culture.
I know about weed culture.
Yeah. And so exactly. It's like that way, to where once you start getting to know one aspect of it, you fall down kind of this rabbit hole, and it pulls you into the other aspects of it, and it gets just more and more interesting. Of course, in every group, there's going to be people that you like, people who are like you, and people who you kind of stay away from, who aren't like you. But it's really about just getting to know the area. And so what I try and do with the content that I put on my website and on my Facebook is I try to make art and make the art world normal in a way, to where people can say, oh, okay, well, that's not as complicated as I might have thought that it was, and make art more approachable from the standpoint of the viewer. And that's actually a lot of what I do, or what I try and do through my art too. And I try not to make art that's so convoluted and complicated in its message, or the language that is communicating that message through, to where when people are actually viewing the art, they have the opportunity to interpret it. A lot of art that you'll see, or what people will consider art, or art with air quotes around it, is stuff that when you look at it, you really can't figure it out. Some people pretend to figure it out, but it's intimidating. And then you go to a museum and you'll see a collection on display, and even if it is subjective art, that is to say, even if there are objects and figures in there that you recognize as objects and figures, not just a bunch of shapes, you look at the artist statement, or the description of the artwork that's next to the piece, and you read it and you're like, I didn't get none of that from looking at this. Like, are you serious, dude? What are you talking about? Existentialism and the sun god? The sun isn't even in the painting.
I've seen that. I've seen those type of situations too, like a few times when I went to a museum and they were explaining. I'm like, that's what you got?
Right. You raise your hand like, bro.
Right.
How though?
How do you see that? Like,
how you get that from that?
Yeah.
What I see is the tragedy of the human experience. How are you getting that?
It's a picture of a toilet.
Exactly. And I'm not saying that type of art isn't art.
Yeah, right.
What I'm saying is I'm trying to create a relationship between myself as the artist and the viewer through the art that I'm representing.
Yeah.
So if you look at my art, then you might be able to get an idea of what I'm trying to say. So different people might glean different interpretations from that piece, which is perfectly fine. But you're actually looking at this and you're like, if you spend some time with it, I'm actually understanding this. And then when you read the description of the artwork that's next to the piece, instead of going, huh? You go, oh. And it's like that kind of revelatory experience. So I try to communicate clearly. Instead of filling my art with all types of jargon and being over abstract. Yeah. Which can come off as pretentious. Yeah. And that pretentiousness can scare people away from art.
Definitely.
So well, that's what I do. I try and express things through my artwork that are relatable.
So is it like, how to put it? So are you trying to like find a balance between not related? I mean, obviously relatability, but like not too mainstream, but at the same time you want people to get it. I'm assuming that's kind of your goal, or is it a little?
My goal is to break down the idea of mainstream itself.
Okay.
Because that's where people kind of get weighed down in their interpretations of art. In fact, the next blog post that I'm writing, the next one that I'm about to post, is about people's interpretations of what is art, what is not art, what does it mean to be a starving artist, what does it mean to be a sellout. Well, like art is art, and it's very difficult to define it. So you can have something that can be called commercial art, like, you know, what Warhol did with the Campbell's cans and the Marilyn Monroe
cat
drawings.
pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you can also see something that's incredibly abstract and quote unquote deep, and that'll sell at Sotheby's for $8 million. So is that not commercial?
So it's like you're gonna control, like, so basically with your art, you're gonna control what's considered commercial, I guess, or change up, I should say, what's considered commercial.
I want people to approach my art without thinking about whether or not it's commercial.
So just throw that out the window completely.
Right. So if somebody commissions me for a portrait, I feel like I should be skilled enough technically as an artist and skilled enough as a communicator to be able to put an artistic message in that portrait to where it's not just a one-off portrait or something that I just threw together. Somebody can look at this and you don't even have to know the person when you look at it. When you see it, you're like, oh, that's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to do through my art. And I want people to stop thinking about art as what's the commercial space and what's the artistic space.
So let me ask you this: do you ever, okay, so like, say a Basquiat painting or yes, I'm just gonna say like a Basquiat, like you'll know, like if you see a Basquiat painting that it's a Basquiat painting.
Right.
So do you have anything that you do that makes yours more distinct, that somebody would know, okay, this is a Kareem painting?
That's a really good question. And I was actually, you know, what's crazy is I was actually just thinking about this the other day when it comes to artistic styles and signature styles of art.
Mm-hmm.
Those take time to develop, and I think that a lot of professional artists or people who are looking, or amateurs who are looking to become professional artists,
Mm-hmm.
or even non-artists who are looking to become amateur artists, they have this idea in their head that they have to jump right out the gates with a definitive art style. Well, really what you need to do is work on your technical skill, work on your traditional skills, work on your composition, work on the skills that are actually going to make you a better artist, and then believe it or not, and the first time I heard it, I thought that it was bullshit too.
Okay.
But your personal style will emerge. It will reveal itself to you.
Mm.
And when I heard that, I was like, okay, like it sounds like mumbo jumbo to me.
Yeah.
It sounds like something that a quote unquote artist would say. But lo and behold, preferences, ideas started to come in and out of my consciousness, and it's really just curiosity that triggers it. So for me, the guy who taught me how to paint, Jack Cassioli, he did all of his paintings on wooden boards, and he cut these boards himself, sealed them, and primed them. And so I was like, oh, okay, you know, that's cool. So when he taught me, we always painted on boards. But when I started doing paintings of my own, I was using canvas. But eventually, I started priming and gessoing my canvases so that they felt like wood. And then I was like, why am I using canvas? So I switched to wood. and then I wanted thicker wood, so I started using plywood. And now I'm starting to experiment with wood from the standpoint of carving, burning, staining, all types of different things that you can do with wood in order to treat it or create different visual effects. And then I'm combining that with oil painting in order to create a definitive style. So I actually have a new style in development right now for a project that I have coming up.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it really just comes out of nowhere. So, like, as far as what you'll see if you look at my portfolio or a catalog of my work right now, is you'll see sort of a progression of getting up to there.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like, I'm starting to get into that, actually develop my own style.
Nice. So, what I want to tell everybody is this. So, I've known Kareem for a super long time. I want to say, honestly, since first grade. So
it might have been that long, for real.
Yeah, because you went to Essex at first grade, right?
Second grade, I transferred to Essex in January of first grade year.
So the second half of the. Okay, so I've known Kareem since I was a first grader, and it's funny. I'm just gonna tell you guys a short, like, funny little thing, or whatever. So back in the day, back in like elementary school, somewhat part of middle school, like me and Kareem was like the two people that would draw. Like we were known for that. But it's just so funny, like looking at it now that we're like, definitely adults and stuff. He has surpassed me by so much. like we used to kind of be neck and neck a little bit. At least I thought
it was fierce. It was on some like Goku and Vegeta shit.
It was, right? Like, but at the same time, I'm gonna be honest with you guys and admit I was Vegeta. This man hit Super Saiyan God. It's like, yo,
I'm not there yet. I still have
compared to me.
Leaps to make, but what
he's
I will
Ultra
say,
Instinct.
I will not deny that statement. But what I will say is that once you're an artist, you're never not an artist.
Yeah.
And
I just turned into something different myself.
Exactly. So you let it develop into a different aspect of art when it comes to film, comedy, broadcast, all that kind of music, all that kind of stuff. And what I see, and this is actually why. So last year I started two art companies. One of them was for my personal brand, The Indigo Kid.
Okay.
And the other one was for exactly that. It encompasses that idea that once you're an artist, you're never not an artist. It's
right
in there somewhere. It's called The Spirited Palette. And I started doing art events, paint and sips, painting parties, that kind of thing. But the theme was always you're an artist. And some of my favorite events that I've ever done have been through the Spirited Palette, because you'll do a project and you'll sit down and you'll have, out of 20 people, you'll have 15 people who don't believe that they can paint that thing that you have them painting. You take them through step by step, and when they're finishing up, they're literally thanking you. Like, I really didn't know that I had this in me. And I don't know how it's sounding to y'all, but I was completely taken aback and blown away by such a proposition, because for me, art has just always been something that I was good at for the level that I was in, I wasn't like Picasso painting masterpiece portraits when I was 5.
It was close. Don't let him underhype it. Like, it was close though. Like
the point is, for my peer group, I was always considered good at art.
Yeah, for sure.
But a lot of people they hung up that when they got criticized, or they stopped doing art for a long time. When they came back to it, they felt like they can't draw, or they'll say like,
that's me.
Yeah, I can draw a stick figure. That's pretty much it. Or they'll say, I'll never be able to do something like that when they look at my art. And I'm like, no, it just takes practice. And if you haven't been practicing for decades, guess what? You start at the level that you were at, not necessarily because you do develop manual dexterity, hand-eye coordination, that kind of stuff as you grow older. And so, like, you'll find a barber and you'll do a painter. Like, what I noticed in my classes was, like, there were some people, like barbers, hairstylists, beauticians, or people who, like, do nails, who were, their pieces were objectively better than the rest of the group. And it was just like, I'm like, well, what do you do for a living? And they say something where they have to use their hands, or they need hand-eye coordination for what they do. They need dexterity. And it's like, oh, okay, well that explains it. Like, you have skills.
Yeah.
And then there are other people who might not have had the technical ability, but their creativity was just, like, on another level. And they'd use different colors, they use different shapes, and it's like, where did you even come up with that? So that's the Spirited Palette is kind of the vehicle that I try and that's about other people, to where I try and bring people into art or expose them to art as a hobby, to where it doesn't have to be a career. You don't have to be Rembrandt. You can just be a dude who likes to paint. And then the Indigo Kid is me. It's like, that's what I'm about.
Okay. So, as you guys heard, you said indigokid.com?
TheIndigoKid.com.
Okay. So, I suggest if you guys are, trying to get into art, or you want to really check out my boy's art, go there, indigokid.com. All right, so we're going to go ahead and take a short break, and we will be back.
All right.
Hey, you like what you're hearing? You want us to keep going? Well, guess what? Me too. So, why don't you go ahead and help us out? Go ahead and check out our Patreon at patreon.com/WesUs Media. There, you can go ahead and help us out, and we'll even give you exclusive content, and depending on your tier, we give you some of our content early. So go ahead and visit our Patreon again at patreon.com/WesUs Media. Thank you.
All right, we are back. So, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to let Kareem introduce this next topic here. And yeah, you're going to want to listen to this.
All right, so I was actually on YouTube the other day, and there was a video by Vox that actually popped into my feed, and it was on a topic that I know actually quite a bit about because I researched it for an art project that I'm working on. But it was about the British Museum and sort of the contentious pieces that are in their collection where the ownership is being disputed. They're saying that they basically the history is that during the rise of the British Empire, they moved into these different parts of Africa and started stealing artwork, or like traditional pieces, like cultural art and cultural like pieces of costumes or history, and started putting them in display at the British Museum. And they were talking about just how many of the pieces in that collection were contentious or like were illegally acquired. And I thought that it was a really interesting thing for them to be bringing up, just because it's something that I think it hasn't really been exposed too much or talked about too much, because this is something that has happened, and there are museums all over the world, or all over Europe rather, but definitely all over the world, because there's some in the United States. You can find them in like Belgium and like France, and they have this African art on display in their museum, but it was kind of stolen from Africa. And then there are some pieces that were sold, or like quote unquote acquired legally in those museums. So like they were sold by the Africans who owned them, but even those are kind of contended And they didn't really go into this in the documentary, or in the video that Vox made, but like even some of the ones that were sold to them, to these museums, are like places where missionaries, like Christian missionaries and Muslim missionaries, came in and basically implanted their religion into that area and told all the Africans there to like destroy or burn their sacred costumes and masks and effigies and stuff. And rather than burn them, a lot of them sold them to these collectors. And so they were able to save the art, but they weren't able to keep it in the country. So there are a lot of Africans who their entire cultural art history doesn't exist in their own country.
Wow. That's wow. But like, I mean, honestly, because you sent me this information earlier, so I had to like read up on it a little bit and everything. And I mean, honestly, like they're telling, like, I mean, they're just basically, whenever you go to like the British Museum specifically, like they're kind of taking people on a tour of just kind of stolen goods.
Yeah.
It seems like they stole all this information there from Africa. This is a guy I read about, called, his name was Jeffrey Robertson. He said that like they're just the largest, like the British Museum at this point is just the largest receiver of stolen goods. So
that's crazy.
I know, right? So it's just like,
so they're just a broker for stolen goods.
Yeah, so it's just like, so technically in that aspect, they're not losing anything. You know what's funny though? And not to bring it back, well, sort of to bring it back to movies. They touched on that Black Panther movie. You remember that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I was actually about to bring that up too, because that opening scene with Killmonger and he's looking at that mask.
Yeah.
But that's like, that's actually the piece that I was studying for my project. And I started studying this. Oh man, it was crazy, because it was about maybe a year before the Black Panther movie came out that I started looking into this. Because if I'm gonna be drawing or painting masks on my pieces, then I want to know like what exactly is the history behind them. Well,
absolutely.
When that scene happened in Black Panther, I'm looking around the theater like shaking people's shoulders like, hey, this is what I was talking about. Y'all remember when I was talking about this? And like that first scene is kind of why Killmonger is one of my favorite villains in the...
I don't even consider him a villain, to be honest with you.
I mean,
he was a little rude. He was rude, I guess. But like, at the same time, his whole entire point was like, I get it. Like, yeah, I understood.
Yeah, I call him a villain in the sense of the category.
He was the antagonist of Black Panther, right? Black Panther. But at the same time, he made a really good point.
Yo, he's my favorite antagonist in the Marvel cinematic.
Yeah, there we go.
But it was because of that. It really, like, it had, at that point, it had nothing to do with nothing else. It was like, I was glad that they were bringing this issue to light, because when it comes to African masks, they actually have spiritual significance. Like the idea is within the mask is like, the mask is a conduit for the spirit of the ancestors. Mm-hmm. And they're used in these celebrations. And the people of the tribe, whatever village it is, whether it's like, whether you're in Ghana or Ethiopia or whatever tribe, because there are different masks and different tribes that represent different things, whether it's a matriarchy or a patriarchy or whatever. But you put on this mask and you dance, and the dance is almost represented as like a trance state. So to where it's like the spirit of the ancestors is actually taking control of the body and dancing through the human being, using the person or the mask as a conduit through which to do that. So like the spiritual significance of those costumes that they would wear and of those masks that they would dance in is what made them intimidating to these Muslim and Christian missionaries who have come through these countries, and that's why they told them to destroy them. They're like, burn it. Like, when the next time I come through here, I don't want to see this in here, or
It's gonna be a
we're
problem.
gonna kill y'all.
Yeah.
Like, y'all gonna be dead because we're not gonna have none of that old religion here. There's only one God, and so like they're like, okay, well, I don't want to destroy these. These are my culture. These are my heritage. These are my ancestors. Like, imagine the amount of disrespect that you would feel burning an ancestor treasures. Like, oh, this is the object that my ancestors channeled their spirit through. And it's just like,
Someone who don't know anything about it just comes through and just says, burn it. That's
they don't know nor care anything about it. So of course, like, I would try and sell it.
yeah.
So if you were coerced into selling it, do you still own it ethically?
Ethically?
Yeah.
I mean, once you decide to sell it and then, of course, someone buys it, no. Like, it's representative of your culture, yes, but, like, but see, it's such a gray area,
It
you
is
know?
a gray area.
So, like, it's like, yeah, obviously you sold it, so you don't own it anymore, but, like, your other option was to destroy it,
Yeah.
and you didn't own it anymore, so,
Or you
like...
could've just died.
Yeah. So, and if you die, you still getting your shit destroyed too, though. So it's just like,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
selling it. It's like, damn, you don't own it
It's almost the
technically.
best thing to do, but you're also relinquishing ownership.
Exactly. It's a messed up, like, what they call it, Sophie's Choice or something like that. But like, it's a messed up situation. I'll just say to like put somebody into, to where I either lose the rights or I just lose the product.
Yeah.
Like, it was just, yeah, like,
It's a complete catch-22.
yeah, like, you are definitely fucked either way. Like, God.
And it's just these people who just came into your country to spread their religion.
Yeah. And like, they don't know nothing about white people. They just like, oh, they lighter than us. Yeah, they got guns, so it's like, yeah.
Guns and explosives.
Yeah, so it's just like, my arrows ain't gonna do shit against that.
Right, spears. That's not
My
gonna,
spears ain't gonna do shit against that, because if I do this, they shot me.
Yeah, they throwing gunpowder.
What I just did, by the way, was I lifted my arm as if I had a spear in my hand, because I obviously, this is a podcast and people can't see me.
Yeah,
So-
you pull out the spear and they're like, gun!
Yeah, so now I'm dead.
Blasted
And-
42 times.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm hit with a firing squad by people who have these. So, yeah, that's
But it's not just them. It's not just museums. There are private collectors
Mhm.
all over Europe too, who will go into these African nations, like, and find these like treasures from the Benin Kingdom, or like the Togo Kingdom, or like the Ethiopian Empire, and they'll just take them. Like, they go into these excavations, into these villages where they're not allowed to be, but they don't see it that way. Like, a lot of Europeans today see Africa as like an extinct continent,
Mm-hmm.
and so they don't think about rights when it comes to that. They go in, they get their treasures, they leave, and it's created almost this market where there are African villagers who are like carving these statues in order to, and they make a living selling them to Europeans who come through looking for treasures.
So just like some people have basically just like, hey, we've kind of been put in this situation, so I might as well just make stuff to sell so that I can profit.
Yeah, essentially.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's crazy, man, and a lot of people really don't know about it. Like those African carvings that you see when you go to the museum, like they don't have access to that in their own country. They don't learn about their culture, their ancient cultures, in their own country. They have to leave and go to Europe in order to see their cultural objects. Imagine having no national artifacts, and you'd have to go to Britain.
I mean, but like I guess with us specifically, being black in America, I guess that is kind of our situation.
I mean, we're just like those masks.
Yeah,
we were stolen.
We were stolen by white people.
By
European. Okay, European, and then sold. Yeah,
and sold and put on display in some cases, and that's like that was part of the, because a lot of people they talk about the rape and pillage of Africa, and a lot of times they're talking about the people. They're talking about slavery, and then some people are talking about the natural resources, but they stole our culture too, and like they would wipe out our culture at its source in those villages so that we didn't know about it.
Yeah.
And like that's it, man. It sucks, man.
It's just like it's funny too because it kind of goes back to like, remember Paul Mooney?
Remind me.
Paul Mooney was someone, he used to be on the Chappelle Show all the time.
Okay, I know you.
He's a comedian, yeah. So he had said something that like kind of fits in this situation, but it applies to so much because we're black people. But it was just like he said, everybody wants to be a nigga till it's time to be a nigga.
Yeah.
So right, exactly.
Yeah.
So like in that context, in regards to this, it's just like so much that like Africans, I'm gonna say American, I'm tripping. Africans created that were stolen. So it's like people want the stuff that are produced by Africans, but like they don't want to give them like say like a seat at, or I'm saying them, I mean obviously us. So they don't want to give black people a seat at the table, but they want the table draped in shit that Africans made.
Because they don't see it as like, for them it's exotic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they see
word I hate.
Yeah, I know. When they see African sculptures, African carvings, African masks that were used in these dances, these rituals, these spiritual practices, or voodoo rituals, they see exotic artifacts. They see something exotic. For us, or for Africans rather, because a lot of Americans are starting to see them as exotic too, but we're actually starting back to identify with them, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
But for a lot of Africans, they see it and they're just like, no, this was just normal to us. Like a lot of times they saw these things growing up when they were kids. It wasn't art, it was just everyday stuff.
I would say it was probably art, but it was just like it was art that they were accustomed to. Like, say for example, we'll see like I don't know, like a picture of, I don't know, like say like a Hallmark pictures or whatever, like on Hallmark cards. So the stuff that's exotic and, you know, exotic paintings or whatever to Caucasians, it was something that we seen all the time because that was just part of the culture that we were, or I guess black people in this case were from.
Yeah.
So so in that case, it's like it was still art, but it was just art that we were accustomed to. Like this is why I said earlier about the cat paintings.
Yeah.
Cat paintings is something that like Caucasians or Americans are accustomed to, but like the type of African paintings that are propped up was something that they were accustomed to.
And it could be a painting of a cat, but it's done in a way that's quote unquote exotic.
Yeah,
so,
or yeah. Oh my God, they made that cat look so something. I don't know.
It's so hip hop.
Right.
I think that adults saw these like artifacts or treasures or ritualistic objects, effigies, fetishes. I think they saw them as art, but I think for kids didn't understand them as art yet.
Yeah, true.
For them, it was just like forks and spoons. And so like when you grow up with something that way, and then you finally get to go to another country, and you seeing these people gawking at these things, like it's like traveling to the future and going to a museum, and there are forks and spoons in glass cases in museums, and you're like,
oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
like, what are y'all looking at this for?
Yeah, like we see this all the time. Like this is normal to us. That's a good way to put it.
In my mouth. Like I used to.
Right, exactly.
Like that's what I mean. Like
you think that that's how Asian people feel when they see like random like Americans eating with chopsticks?
I don't know, not necessarily. But I think that every time they see chopsticks being represented as this otherworldly, difficult to use, like crazy, it's almost like sometimes Americans treat them like they're extra dimensional.
Right.
Like chopsticks, just there's why do these even exist still? And Chinese people were like, what do you mean? You just eat with them? Like, what are you talking about?
This is what we use.
People like in movies using one chopstick in each hand, trying to like struggling to get the rice up to their mouth.
And dropping it.
And they're like, what are you guys doing? Just put them in between your fingers. It's almost like that video that was going around Facebook. And I hate to date this podcast, but there was this video going around Facebook a couple of weeks ago of this Asian guy watching.
I mean, there's a date when I like post it, so
I guess, right?
Like, yeah, go ahead.
But it was like a Chinese guy watching this tutorial video on how to cook rice, and it was frustrating him because she obviously was not making the rice right, and he was like yelling at the screen like, "What are you doing?" It's like that. That's what I see it as. It's like from the inside looking out, like you know that these things are important. But then, like, these things are important to them, but the reason is almost like not really genuine, because if it was important to you the same, or if it was important to them the same way it's important to you, they would have returned those artworks, decades ago.
Yeah, exactly. But they still kept them stolen. Like, I mean, they still keep them in the museum. That's what, it's just so crazy. So, like, if you really think about it, like, when people go to these museums and, like, or just the museum owners, like, it's all profit. Because it's like, you didn't pay. Like, you stole this shit. Like,
yeah. You conquered it. You conquered this land, came in, you killed the people, and then you took and shipped these treasures back to back to this museum so people can come and look at them.
Yeah.
Why not build a museum in Africa for tourists, I guess? I don't know. Like,
to come? Yeah.
Yeah, so that increase tourism in the area. I don't know.
Well, because in that situation, like, because tourism brings money, and obviously, unfortunately, their concern isn't for Africans to get money, it's for them to get money.
Yeah.
So they bring it over to their
Especially
country.
If that country wins its independence, like, you don't have no interest in returning that stuff. And why don't you say that? There are some private collectors. There are some private collectors of African artifacts who have returned their collection to the native countries, though.
That's rare as shit.
But it is rare.
Yeah. Because that requires a conscience, and I don't know, man. Like right now, it's like that's a rare commodity for some people to have consciences.
Yeah, and everybody's trying to think about
how can I get over
gesture they can do in order to show that they stand in solidarity with the black community. It's like, well, all right, we'll give your collection back.
Not that far.
I was thinking about a greeting card or something.
Yeah, like
a gift card.
Hallmark.
Like y'all like Outback, right?
Yeah, right. I got this gift card.
$25. It's not even a whole meal. What am I supposed to get? I can get fish.
You can get fish
at Outback.
Just because that's not their specialty. So
right. Get some shrimp. Yeah, I went to Outback. What'd you get? Shrimp.
Shrimp.
Oh.
Is they from the South? Scrimp.
Scrimp.
Alright, so yeah, I mean, like I said, we wanted to, like I said, bring attention because, like I said, this is obviously something that is not covered mainstream because it's just like one of those things that just like business as usual, I guess.
Yeah.
So because that's business as usual, people don't cover it because it's like, Caucasians steal shit all the time. Who cares? But like as people from African descent, as we are, we care. So we wanted to like bring awareness to that.
Definitely.
So,
Like I really hope that people will listen to this and understand that this is something that's actually happening. That the awareness is like is good.
Absolutely. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and end this, but the last thing we want to really go ahead and touch on here is that Beirut explosion. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and touch on that. All right, so by the way, I'm gonna be honest with you people. I am tipsy right now, but
I'm feeling it too a little bit.
That's good. That's what's up.
I think I'm there. we hanging on though.
Yes, because we got one more topic left.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna talk about that Beirut explosion. First of all, I ain't gonna lie. I haven't even seen shit like that in movies. That was insane.
You know what's crazy about it? You say that, but the chemical that detonated, the ammonium nitrate, that's the chemical that they sell for commercial explosions.
Really?
Yeah, so those explosions that you see in Hollywood movies are from that chemical because it creates the most visually stunning explosions. So what you saw in the Beirut video was literally a Hollywood explosion.
That's wild. Because I read somewhere that it was like 2 tons of something, like the stuff that they had. It was like 2 tons of it, and they got it from some ship or whatever about 6 years ago.
No, man. This is all right. So first of all, it was 2,750 tons.
Oh shit! Okay, I'm way off.
And the only reason why something like that even registers for me to look into is because when I saw this explosion, it reminded me of the Tianjin explosion in China in 2015, and I was like, I saw the explosion because the Tianjin explosion happened in the middle of the night, and they said it registered at like a 5. It was the same force as like a 5 magnitude earthquake or something.
Okay.
And I saw that explosion. I was like, man, and it must have been like just a couple of months ago when me and a couple of buddies of mine were talking about that explosion and watching videos of it. And I'm like, so it was fresh in my head. So when I saw the Beirut explosion, I was like, this reminds me of that other explosion. Turns out it was the same chemical. In Tianjin, 800 tons of ammonium nitrate detonated. There was 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate in Beirut at the docks. And that's like, I think it factors out to like 5.5 million tons, 5.5 million pounds of explosive material. Like, dude.
That's, yeah.
So what happened was, apparently, there was a ship that came in carrying the ammonium nitrate in 2013, and it got kind of like stuck at the docks because there was a legal battle or a legal issue as far as the docking fee or something, and the shipping company that sent the freighter was already in debt to the city.
That's why they took it. Okay.
Yeah, so they compounded the ship and they seized the contents, and that's why it's been there for that whole time. Since then, they haven't done shit with it. And it's just been sitting there for like 7-8 years.
So they didn't. Yeah. So it's sitting there. They didn't do any type of like precautions or anything like that. And but see,
forgot it was there.
They may have, honestly, especially with it being that long. But like, I'm just thinking like the fact that like, dang, that's just. Wait, well, I wonder what ignited it. I guess because it's obviously, like you said, it's been there for 6 years, but like we haven't figured out what like. I remember when they first came out, they tried to say it was like fireworks or some shit like that, but it was just like,
they
no.
They said it was fireworks being stored in the same place, and I think that was like they were figuring that from how the explosion looked, because right before the explosion, you can see these white pops in the smoke.
Yeah.
And then it's this huge.
Yeah, that's what, like, it started off like, I don't want to say small, but like it started off reasonable, and then all of a sudden you just see, boom, like you see this big ass mushroom cloud that just.
But no, that's how the Tianjin explosion was. It was a fire, and there was a plume of smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why it reminded me of that, like, so closely. There was this plume of smoke, and there was a fire, and there were these people recording the fire on their phones, like, oh man, that's crazy, like, that shit is on fire, kind of like laughing and giggling, just like
right.
And then there was an explosion, and oh man, I can't. All right, so go back and watch the video if y'all haven't seen it, the Tianjin explosion. But the way I remember it, there was an initial explosion, and then maybe 7 seconds later, there was a huge explosion. And it was huge, man. It looked like.
This is about 3 seconds.
It looked like
this one.
It might have been.
Like, this one was like 3 seconds. It was like, shoo, and then I was like, shoo, my God.
And the smoke plume was
yeah.
just.
Yeah.
It looked like the what were they called? The Manhattan experiment tests. The Manhattan Project tests. It looked like those tests, man.
I was gonna say like the scene from Terminator 2, but
it
like,
did look like that. the dome explosion was like going out.
But that too though, like, oh my God, that was just like crazy. And then it's just like, I don't know. I'm just thinking like different countries' responses to it. So like, I mean, a lot of people obviously like France, Britain, different places, whatever. They spoke on it, and they had like a sense of like.
Well, the president of France actually went and visited the.
Did he?
Yeah, he was on the scene like 2 days later.
So you know what's crazy about that is that like, okay, so the president of France did that, which is great. Obviously, that's something you should be doing. Was it Macron, something like that?
Yeah.
But like, our president. This dude just decided to make up a conspiracy theory about it. Like,
you know what? I don't even think he was making up a conspiracy theory. I think he didn't know about it. Well, I think he knew that it happened.
He knew it happened, obviously,
But he didn't watch the video, and he wasn't paying attention to any of the coverage. So when he spoke on it, he was speaking from a place of ignorance. But you know how Trump is. He don't like to admit that he doesn't know. Mm-hmm. So he just started talking.
Or I haven't learned it yet or something. The only time he do that is when it's like racist shit. Like he'll say he don't know, or like let's say like with that that Maxwell woman. Giselle Maxwell, yeah. So he'll say, I don't know about that, blah, blah, blah. So he'll pretend he don't know about stuff that, like, kind of has him to do with it.
But that has to do with his reputation, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So when he has something to do with it a little bit, he'll pretend he don't know. But when it's something that's, like, something like that, like, obviously he didn't have anything to do with it, but at the same time, you're the president, he'll just be like, yeah, this happened, and it was a conspiracy.
So to clarify,
somebody did it.
To clarify, Trump, when he was asked what he thought or how he felt about the Beirut explosion, he basically said, he was basically like,
he said it was done. He said it was like
what he said was it was a terrible attack.
Attack.
Those were the words that he said.
Right.
Now, it was a terrible attack. Now, what I think that came from is that there was actually a doctored, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but there was a doctored video that released on social media a couple days after, where somebody took one of the videos, mm-hmm. and they edited this part into it to where they were like, yeah, if you switch it over to a negative image, then you can see here, and they edited in this missile looking like thing to make it look like it was blasted.
Yeah.
And it exploded. which out of all places,
Why he always see the conspiracy videos? He don't never see the regular
that's
video.
What I think his Twitter feed is like though. Like I was
it could be, yo. You're right though.
Because I was talking to a couple of people.
That's
Actually,
why I
I
hate
was
the
at my family's
algorithms.
house last night, and I was talking about those algorithms.
Yeah, those algorithms are trash.
My brother, because they will literally, if all you've been looking at and clicking on and researching is conspiracies, then it's just going to show you. It's going to keep throwing conspiracies at you to give you a feedback loop to keep you in that echo chamber. Because it knows that you'll continue to use that platform if you keep seeing stuff that you agree with on it.
Right.
So that's what I think.
I hate. That's a different subject.
I hate that too. And there's a documentary. I'm about to kick you the name of it because I can't remember it right now. But it's like all about that. That's really good. But maybe you can like post it in the podcast notes if that's something.
You know, the comment. Yeah, I got you.
But yeah, like I feel like he saw that video, and that's what that was the reality that he knew about it was, this was an attack. I saw the missile.
The only thing is he has a whole intelligence agency that like is supposed to tell him like even the stuff that we don't know. Like
don't read those
I know he doesn't read them. God dang.
It's his own intelligence. It's like I'm an intelligent man. I have all the intelligence.
My instinct is the greatest.
You can ask anybody that knows me. I'm the most intelligent person there is. That's the kind of stuff that he says.
Yeah, or my friend that I won't give the name of, he told me I was the most intelligent person. He called me like, "Hey, sir, you're the most intelligent person I know." He just randomly called me and told me that. So
yeah, I was talking to a guy I know. He's a really smart guy. He knows when he sees it. And he
just told me like he's like, "Sir, you're the most smartest person in the world." Like, so, he said it. I don't know. I ain't gonna tell y'all who he is, but like,
yeah. When you ask him to be specific, he's Trump.
He's Trump.
But
exactly.
As far as the cause,
if you ask him to be specific, he'll just he'll just say like, "Oh, it's my opinion." Okay, but go ahead.
But as far as the cause of the explosion, like nobody knows for the most part. It's so here's the messed up thing about it. For the most part, it's being considered an accident. And I can completely understand that because
I believe it is probably an accident.
Yeah.
But
as an oil painter, I actually work with a lot of flammable materials. Like the solvents that I use for my oils are flammable, and I actually had to learn about storing flammable material so that you don't wind up with an accidental, spontaneous combustion in your studio and burn the place down.
Yeah.
So I had to learn that, if I use like a rag to wipe these flammable solvents off of a canvas, I have to store it in an open bucket. When that dries out, then I can put it in a trash bag, because if you tie it into a trash bag, what that does is it limits the airflow, and it turns all of the flammable material, it starts to generate, everything generates its own energy. So if you have something that's flammable and volatile, it's going to automatically generate its own energy. Well, when you block that thing from being properly ventilated, if it's not stored right, then it's going to store that energy. It's going to build up. So if you tie up if I have a bunch of rags that I wipe solvent off with, and I throw them all in the trash bag, tie up the trash bag, and draw the string without letting it all dry out first, it's going to just catch on fire. It doesn't need to be sitting next to a vent. It don't need to be like heated with an outside fire source. I don't need to be like breathing on it. It will just catch on fire. So I can believe, especially like with the buildup with the garbage crisis that they had in Beirut, with all the political corruption, like with all the stuff that made it difficult for, like, there's a lot of factors that go into environmental concerns that made it unsafe for that, especially that amount of flammable material, something like ammonium nitrate.
It was a lot. Yeah, exactly.
It was sitting around.
Right.
Man, like if you wouldn't have that in your house, then you gotta say. And all the officials after the explosion happened were talking about how, well, yeah, it was it was a concern. We were all concerned about that area. Well, why didn't you do nothing about it before? And
they always talk about their concerns.
And that's why I say that's the messed up part, because all these different government departments now are arguing and finger pointing about who was responsible for the docks.
Everyone finger points, but no one ever just says, okay, so what can we do to fix it?
Yeah. Everybody just wants to blame. But when you have a corrupt government system, because the people of Beirut started protesting about a year ago, and COVID shut the protests down.
Well, yeah. Well, COVID, COVID started in it got real big in March, but yeah, COVID stopped a lot. Cause COVID stopped a lot, like the France movement, like the yellow vest.
Yes.
Yeah. COVID stopped a lot of shit.
It shut down all types of protests, boy.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. Like, nobody wants to really think about what they're gonna do to fix, because it destroyed the city.
Yeah.
Nobody's thinking about what to do about that. Everybody wants to. It's like if after 9/11, the Department of Defense and the Department of the State and the Department of the Treasury were all pointing fingers at whose job it was to make sure that terrorists don't get on airplanes. It's like that's not going to do us any good. Like, let's talk about what to do to make sure it doesn't happen again. Or what are we going to do about it? How are we going to clean it up?
That takes too much work for these people that we got.
Victims?
I know, it sucks. But coming up with how we can fix the situation is it's too much. It's too much work for so many of these people involved. They rather just focus. Okay, who can we blame and put this on, instead of how we fix. It's all politics, bro. Everyone just wants to blame somebody, but no one wants to come up with a solution.
Dude, because if it's your fault, you're not getting reelected.
But see, the thing is about it, so I'll give you an example, as far as that goes. Say, Chicago. Okay. So, people want to be oh, well, Chicago was this, that, and the third, or whatever, but, and even Donald Trump says this, that, and the third, it was this, that, and the third, or whatever, but it's okay, so you're in office now, what are you going to do to fix it? No one wants to ever think about that. They just want to be oh, it's their fault. But it's not about fault anymore. It's
it's really not, because you can blame. Here's the thing: you can blame the state government officials when it comes to Chicago or any state.
That's easy.
That's really easy.
It's easy.
Or
yeah.
You can say that it's the job of the federal government to make sure that the state government is up on par. These are these are little government, big government arguments, which is usually what the whole Democratic and Republican Party butt heads over. But
libertarian, the libertarian faction versus the
I'm talking about
socialist factions. Yeah, I feel you. But I'm saying there's socialist politicians, and then there's libertarian politicians. Libertarian politicians wanted to be okay, look, we want to get paid to not do shit. So we're not gonna really do shit about it. But the other ones is hey, we want to do a lot of shit about it. So people, so people don't really know what to do. There's no in between.
The answer is somewhere in between.
It is somewhere in between, but
the point is that you should, and you know what? I am gonna say that this is what I appreciate about. There's a lot to not appreciate about the executive orders that Trump put into effect yesterday. Mm-hmm. But because it's, a lot of people are talking about it's government overreach. It's we're
but I
around the democratic or the lawmaking process.
Right.
And those are the problems that I have with it. But at the same time, when you have these these parties that just everybody is just trying to blame. Nobody's really trying to.
No one's trying to fix. They just want to blame. Right. Yeah, I feel you. But go ahead.
Trump definitely used it as a campaigning moment. He was campaigning.
He was definitely campaigning.
But at the same time, I would really love a system of government that was democratic. Because the overreach is. I wish that we can come to the types of conclusions and decisions that Trump enforced yesterday without having to administer executive orders. That's what fucks me up.
You know what's shitty about it is that they're like, okay, so you got one side, they're like, what does Trump want us to do? And we're gonna do that. And you got the other side was like, what's the opposite of what Trump wants us to do? Let us do that. So it's just like,
Right.
like, so it's just like, even though you'll see situations like that, like even though it's not Trump, it's Trump is involved because it's all based off of what they think he would do.
If he was a more likable dude, we wouldn't have this problem.
No, but I would still have a problem with the overreach. Cause this is my thing. Cause I've talked to like conservatives and shit like that, and like say with like his executive orders and stuff that he does. Like they'd be like, well, if it was a Bernie Sanders like presidency, would you? I still would have a problem with it because it's like, okay, so yes, I'll be like, yeah, okay, what he's doing technically probably is great for me, but. That's
what
going to give
when it's not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Like, I can't be okay with the overreach when it benefits me, and then be mad at the overreach when it doesn't. Like,
right? Exactly.
And that's where I am about it, and that's what I'm talking about when it comes to this Beirut explosion, because everybody is trying to blame, and point the fingers, and nobody's really working on what is needed to actually solve the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So, like. People are saying, how are other countries coming to the aid of Beirut? And it's great. Like, I actually applaud and respect the president of France for going down there and assessing the situation in order to figure out what was the best way for his country to provide aid for the situation. But at the same time, if the government, if the political system wasn't corrupt in the first place, you wouldn't need that level. Like, you wouldn't have these types of disasters, and it's another one of them catch-22s, man.
Yeah, bro. That's funny how we came back to the first topic we talked about. Like, but yeah, no, you're right though. Like, it's just like we need people. I mean, see, this is the weird part. That even in regards to like the explosion, so the explosion already happened, so you can't do nothing to stop it, obviously.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, we need to figure out what, not who, not like again, not the blame. Like the blame doesn't matter.
It's
like,
not gonna change.
It's not gonna change. Like, even if we say, okay, it was John Smith who did. Okay, fine. Okay.
You can put John Smith in prison. It's not gonna help none.
That's not gonna stop this from happening in the future,
it's
right?
Not gonna help none of the victims. Like, they still gonna be displaced. They still gonna have a high refugee population in Lebanon. Like, that's not gonna change nothing. You put somebody in prison. Now, definitely punish the people who are responsible. If you find a person responsible.
But we gotta figure out how we can make this not happen again. And that's where people like be like, I ain't doing that. That way, not people, but like politicians be like,
because it costs money.
It costs money.
And honestly, the economical situation. I'm sorry, the economic situation in Beirut right now, in Lebanon right now, is so messed up that it's like they couldn't financially afford this explosion, dude.
Yeah,
like
Lebanon got a lot.
They said since October, their currency against the U.S. dollar has decreased 80%.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah, they had a whole financial crisis because like there was like some sort of political scandal, and it made it to where like it messed up their one of their main imports or exports, or whatever, and it ruined their economy. And that's what a lot of the protests are over, because there's hyperinflation, there's unemployment, there's poverty, and what are the people going to do when they're hungry? They're going to protest. They're not going to be happy. And so their economic situation was already messed up. They literally don't have the money to fix that. What happened for that explosion? They should have just sold the damn ammonium nitrate, and their whole economy would have been fixed.
Ironically, right? Like, instead of just letting it sit inside of a warehouse, right? But like, but nonetheless, yeah. So like, you're right though. They should have they should have done something. They could have done something, but they did nothing. But like, I can't.
Now their options on what they can do are limited because their economy is messed up.
Yeah, exactly.
So they need that aid from foreign countries and everything, and it's kind of on the the EU, if anything.
Yeah, but see, you know what is fucked up though? Because like America was part of the EU. Now the EU is like kind of like, I don't really want to deal with America right now because
Yeah, our relationship with the EU was great, and now it's kind of contentious.
yeah,
And
it was
like,
great before 2016.
And then that same thing applies to the United Nations.
Mm-hmm.
Because Trump started talking about pulling out of the United Nations.
It's like if Russia don't get in it, we ain't gonna be in it. Like kind of shit. Yeah, he was on that shit. Yeah.
So like, I don't know, man. Like I honestly, like, my thoughts, my prayers go out to the people of Beirut, and I think the death toll was like up over 150 the last time I checked.
Mm-hmm. That's when I saw it too. It was
Like,
like over 150.
Yeah, it's a tragedy, man. But I think that I'm an optimistic type person.
Okay.
So I think they can recover.
They can, honestly. Like, I mean, it was because like, okay, how do I put it? When you see the pictures, it was a lot destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot destroyed. But at the same time, they can recover. I mean, obviously, it depends on a lot of different factors and like different people, regimes in, and all this type of shit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they can recover.
It'll take them a generation or two. Like the way
You
I
think
see it is,
it'd be that long?
and if Japan, it might not be,
Okay.
but if Japan could recover from the atom bomb, the 2 bombs that was dropped on that.
Yeah.
On that, I don't want to say continent. It's not a continent, but Nagasaki and Hiroshima.
Yeah, Hiroshima. That was that one.
And where they came from there, like, they have some of the most powerful corporations on the planet right now.
Bro, they got Pokemon.
Like, they got a whole army of Charizards. Like,
exactly,
you
bro.
Nuke us now.
Exactly. I ain't gonna let me get some Charizard, nigga. No, but like, yeah, nonetheless though, they got that shit going and whatever. Like, so they were fine, and then you know, PlayStation.
So do
all
you
that
feel
shit.
like the U.S. government should do something to help Beirut?
I mean, at this point, no. Like financially, no. But at the same time, that's only because of how shitty our current circumstances.
Yeah, this is the worst time for like national tragedies.
Exactly. So like, I feel like at the same time, right now, we kind of got our own problems, but at the same time, I'm like,
I make it seem like Beirut is like an ex-girlfriend that came to the house like,
yay! Can you help me out with this bill?
kind of got my own situation going on.
Yeah, but
I would have helped you out like 6 months ago, but
right now it's got. But like, so right this second, nah.
Okay.
But I mean, like, if this was like normal, yes. I mean, like, we would be able to help them out. But it just says it's like right now, like, our economy is pretty fucking trash. So it's just like, the way my checking account is set up to where it's like my savings and my checking, and I gotta wait for. You know that Kevin Hart skit. So the way my savings and my checking is set up, my account is set up. So, but at the
I don't get paid till Friday, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
Like, but like at this, like I feel like, you know, we should. But at the like, we don't need to like financially right now help them out. But at the same time, we should be like sending them like. I don't want to say thoughts and prayers because that's that bullshit that like white people hit like people whenever there's like school shootings.
Yeah.
But like that's another topic. But like I feel like we should like if they need like hey like you know like encouragement.
Yo, if you listening to this and you need a tax break right quick, donate money to like whatever organization is helping them out in Beirut. And
you know,
like that. I guess this is the situation.
If you got that money, do
if
it.
you got that money, you know, you can write that off on your taxes next year.
True.
Your taxes are going to be confusing as hell in 2021, man.
Preach.
Do I count my unemployment check?
Yeah. Do I count that $600 that I may or may not get?
I don't know. It's professional, man. But yeah, that's a messed up situation. And here's what I do like that I'm seeing around the world. When just to end on a high note, maybe.
Yeah, let's do that.
But when it comes to the reactions of people around the world, I did see this headline yesterday about India. I can't remember what the country is or the city is, but because I'm not familiar with the city in the first place.
Okay.
But
Fair.
I did see that they confiscated like 200 tons of ammonium nitrate that was sitting in storage. Same way it was sitting in storage in Tianjin, and the same way it was sitting in storage in Beirut. They went ahead and confiscated that. Like their countries, like to see a country, and the ammonium nitrate that they confiscated apparently was just like 12 miles from the nearest city. And so it's like, okay, like y'all are actually finally reacting in the right way. Y'all are looking for places where they're storing these chemicals unsafely or in an unregulated way, and y'all are looking to like clean it up or take it and put it in a more secure facility or regulate the storage of it. And I think that that's the right way for people to react, is just to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I don't know. Donate to Beirut.
Donate to Beirut.
Definitely. If you got that money. Because I know right now we're kind of fucked up with Corona. But like, yeah. So look, that was the end of the episode.
Yep.
I want to thank you guys for listening. Again, my name, you already know me, West Meets World, and I got Kareem on the line.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so on that note, we are out. Bless.
Peace.